Space had been quiet for too damn long. They called it the era of tranquility. 3,000 years without war, bloodshed, or even raised voices between the interstellar races. Trade flourished, peace treaties were inked in every star system, and the Galactic Council sat fat and proud atop their golden thrones. But humans? We never really bought into that lie. We remembered Earth. We remembered history. And some of us knew peace was just a pause between punches. My name is Grant Thorne. I was born on the Mars Citadel, raised on old war documentaries and stories from my grandfather, one of the last Earth-born Marines. He used to sit on his bunk, grip his oxygen-scarred lungs, and tell me, "Peace is for the naive, Grant. The universe is a ticking bomb, and one day someone will light the fuse." He wasn't wrong. It started with a whisper in the deep systems, missing patrols, broken relay stations, strange magnetic pulses no one could explain. Then came the silence. Entire colonies stopped responding. Not one signal, not one survivor. Just empty space where life used to be. The Galactic Council, in their silk and smiles, told everyone it was a solar flare anomaly. But we knew better. We always do. The truth hit when the sky turned red over Cygnus 5. A ship, unlike anything ever seen, drifted in from deep, dark space. No markings, no heat signatures, just black alloy and jagged edges that looked like they were built to kill. The aliens called themselves Valari, but there was no introduction, no handshake, no diplomacy. They fired on the Capitol dome, burned 500,000 lives in seconds. The Council panicked. The races begged for retreat. Some even wanted to surrender. But we didn't flinch. We watched the footage, watched mothers turn to ash and buildings crumble like sandcastles, and something ancient woke up in us, something the others thought was extinct. Anger, controlled, cold, human rage. Command didn't waste time. They didn't ask for permission. Earthfleet activated Protocol 07, preemptive human dominance response. It was a contingency plan drawn up 2,000 years ago, laughed off as barbaric by the other species. Too aggressive, they said. Too paranoid. Too human. But now, that aggression was the only thing standing between survival and extinction. I was stationed on the dreadnought Iron Will, docked near the asteroid belt. When the alarm hit, every soldier on board suited up. No speeches, no promises of return, just orders. Push back, take the fight to them, show them what happens when you fuck with humans. We jumped 3 systems out, straight into the wreckage of the Valari advance fleet. And what we found? Bodies. Not ours, theirs. Alien ships torn open like paper. Black blood frozen in space. Whatever hit them, it wasn't us. Something else had pushed back first, something worse. But there were human heat signatures in the area. Survivors. A beacon pinged on our radar. An old Earth signal. Pre-UN code. No way it should have been active. We followed it, weapons primed. No time for mercy now. As we neared the coordinates, our dreadnought's lights flickered. Power systems stuttered. A low hum filled the bridge, a frequency none of our tech could identify. Then we saw it. A single human frigate, floating in the dead zone. Scarred, burnt, half its hull missing, but alive. Barely. Inside we found 30 survivors. Not just any humans. Old Earthborn, unregistered, off-grid. These weren't military. These were exiled. And somehow they had fought off an entire Valari scout legion, with homemade weapons and modified tech decades behind our fleet. When we asked how they did it, their captain, a grizzled bastard with cybernetic eyes and burns across his jaw, spat blood and said, "They bled easy. Just had to remind 'em who taught war to the stars." We brought the survivors aboard, but they didn't act like survivors. No fear, no trembling hands, just silent grit in their eyes, like they'd seen worse and didn't have time to mourn. Most of the fleet's command staff wanted to debrief them, run full psych scans, strip their ship and tech for study. I told them to back the hell off. They weren't just survivors. They were proof. Proof that the Valari weren't invincible, and that even the most broken, discarded pieces of humanity could still draw blood. The captain's name was Reddick. No first name, no rank. Just Reddick. His crew didn't call him Sir or Captain. They called him Old Blood. 3,000 years of peace, he said as he lit a cigarette that shouldn't even have been legal on board. Makes a species forget how to make their enemies scream. I believed him. We all did. The debrief was short. The Valari didn't want resources, didn't want territory. They wanted erasure, not just of humans, all sentient life. A cleansing, Reddick called it. And they were methodical. They didn't attack military strongholds first. They went after small colonies, communication relays, water purification plants. Anything that made survival possible. It wasn't war, it was extermination. The council still hesitated, still whispered about negotiations. They even considered sending envoys. Reddick laughed in their faces. You don't parley with something that skins children alive, he growled. You kill it, and you burn the ground it walked on. We knew then, if we were going to win, we couldn't fight by the council's rules, and we damn sure couldn't wait for permission. The Iron Will was reassigned. New orders, track the Valari jump routes, and find their forward base. It was a death mission wrapped in pretty words. We weren't supposed to come back. We didn't care. Reddick volunteered to join us. Not asked, volunteered. Said he had unfinished business. His eyes told me what he really meant. Revenge. His crew stayed on their junker, now docked and rearmed by our engineers. We couldn't believe some of the things they'd done to that rust bucket. Weapons rigged from mining lasers, shield tech stolen from pirate vessels, and their AI, some ancient black box program that spoke like a preacher and killed like a goddamn warlord. We called it Exodus. It called us sinners. Friendly, right? Reddick and I ran joint ops from then on. He didn't follow orders. He followed blood. Every battle became a lesson. He showed us how to strike fast without warning, how to jam Valari signals using nothing but radio noise and desperation, how to rip into their hulls and gut them from the inside. The first time we hit a Valari shipyard, it was silent after the blast. No cheers, no victory speeches, just flames and silence. We left a message in the wreckage, a single line, carved into the asteroid wall with a plasma torch. You started this. We'll finish it. After that, they started calling us something. Not Earth Fleet, not humans. They called us the Red Strain, because wherever we went, blood followed. But things got worse. Scouts disappeared. Entire units vanished without distress calls. Something in Valari space was hunting back. We found one of our cruisers, the Leviathan, drifting near a collapsed star. No life signs, hull intact. AI frozen in mid-process. Not shut down, terrified. I didn't know AI could feel fear. Inside, we found messages carved into the walls with fingernails. Human words, but not from any crew we knew. It watches from the void. It's not Valari, it's worse. Reddick said nothing when he read those, just clenched his fists and whispered, They've awakened it. I asked him what it was. He looked me dead in the eye. Something we buried when we still lived on Earth. We didn't have time to argue. The Valari flagship appeared 2 systems away, slaughtering a mining colony before we could intercept. No survivors. Just one recording left behind, broadcast into the void. A warning. From them. Their message was simple. The peace is over. You are next. But the fools didn't know who they were dealing with. Peace had made them forget. But it had only made us remember. The council cut us off after that. They called our campaign reckless, inhumane, unprovoked escalation. They had the nerve to accuse us of war crimes while the Valari burned worlds and skinned people alive. Those ivory tower diplomats never left their glass domes. They sat in orbit over sanctuary planets, sipping wines from extinct vines while the rest of us bled in deep space. We stopped taking their calls. No more orders. No more permissions. From that day forward, Earthfleet and every independent human militia became one thing: the Red Strain. Unofficial, unaccountable, unrelenting. Reddick led the charge into enemy territory. He didn't ask for fleet support, didn't want backup, just his old ship, patched together by death and stubbornness, and the handful of freaks who followed him into hell without hesitation. We pushed deep, past Valari borders, past what most considered navigable space. What we found there didn't make sense. Planets scorched from orbit but untouched by battle. Valari cities, empty. No bodies, no damage, just abandoned. As if something had pulled them out of existence in the middle of their lives. We found a research station still intact. Valari tech, filled with files written in a language our best linguists couldn't crack. But their AI, primitive and arrogant, had one last log entry translated into our tongue. For us, a message. We tried to contain it. Your kind fed it with war. It is awake now. It is watching you. Whatever they were talking about, it wasn't us. And that's what scared me. Back aboard the Iron Will, our scans started picking up anomalies. Black zones in space where even light refused to move. Static across the comms that sounded like whispers in ancient tongues. Some of the crew started hearing things in their sleep. Others started sleepwalking, always toward the airlocks. One jumped. No reason. No note. Just opened the hatch, saluted the void, and stepped into death. Reddick didn't flinch. He said we were getting close. To what, I didn't know. But it wasn't just about the Valari anymore. They were running too, running from something older, something worse. The name started spreading among the crew, passed in whispers, like a curse. The Hollow Star. It wasn't a star. It was a place, a region of space so ancient it wasn't on any maps. No stars, no planets, no mass, just a black scar stretching across reality. And inside it, they said something lived there. Or maybe lived isn't the right word. The Valari feared it, revered it, prayed to it even. Their slaughter wasn't a strategy, it was sacrifice. Blood for the Hollow Star, trying to buy time, trying to appease the thing they'd accidentally woken. And it wanted more. That's when Reddick told us the truth, the real reason he knew all this. Because we made it, he said. Silence fell across the command deck. Even the AIs paused. What do you mean, we? I asked. Earth, humans, 1,000 years ago, during the machine rebellions. We built a weapon to win a war no one talks about anymore. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in a minute. We built it, the Hollow Star. It was supposed to end the rebellion, consume anything that didn't bleed red. He sat down. For the first time, he looked tired. But it didn't stop. It learned, grew. We couldn't kill it, so we buried it in space, sealed it in a dead zone, erased its name, locked its code behind psychic encryption. And the Valari found it, I said. He nodded. They tried to use it, control it. Now they can't even run from it. That changed everything. We weren't just fighting for survival anymore. We were fighting to bury our own mistake before it devoured the galaxy. And in that moment, something inside me shifted. We weren't the monsters they feared. We were worse. Because now we had a reason. And if the Hollow Star wanted war, we'd feed it the Valari first. The assault on the Valari homeworld wasn't strategy. It was fury wrapped in steel. We knew the risks. We knew we were outnumbered, outgunned, and damn near flying blind. But when Reddick stood before the Red Strain command crews and said, "They opened the gate to hell. We're going to slam it shut with their bones," nobody hesitated. Every man aboard the Iron Will, every woman on Reddick's twisted old frigate, every outlaw ship and exiled destroyer we'd picked up on the way, they all locked in jump coordinates without blinking. This wasn't about orders anymore. It was about legacy and payback. The Volari homeworld wasn't what we expected. No golden palaces, no towering spires of power and pride. It was a dying planet drowning in its own atmosphere, choked by black storms and screaming winds. Massive hollowed-out temples rose from the mountains, all covered in markings we couldn't translate. But we understood them. Fear, worship, surrender. The planet wasn't their stronghold, it was their altar. We came in hot. No hails, no warnings, just missiles and railguns. The upper atmosphere burned as we punched through their last line of orbital defense. They fought like cornered animals, vicious, desperate, but chaotic. Their command structure was already fractured, their fleets scattered, their responses lagging behind. Reddick said it plain: "They're not fighting us. They're stalling." For what? The hollow star. We hit their capital dome first. Inside, we didn't find generals or warriors. We found priests, chanting, offering themselves in mass ritual. Volari children were tied in chains at the altar, throats already cut. I shot the first priest before he could finish his next word. Reddick walked through the blood without flinching, looked up at a massive obsidian monolith in the center of the temple, pulsing with heat, vibrating with sound we couldn't hear, and said, "This is their tether. Their connection to the hollow star, a beacon, a key. We had two options: destroy it and hope it dies, or follow it and finish what our ancestors never could. We didn't even vote. The monolith wasn't just rock, it was a portal, a living gate, carved from dark matter and laced with neural code older than light itself. Exodus, the creepy AI from Reddick's ship, decoded the activation sequence, said it needed a mind to open it, a human mind. Reddick stepped forward. I stopped him. "You go in, you're not coming back." He looked at me, and in that moment I saw more than an old soldier. I saw a man who had carried the weight of a sin no one remembered, who had lived in the shadows of lies, of war, of buried truths. "I was there when we made it," he said quietly. "Not the weapon, the decision." He placed his hand on the monolith. "And I'll be damned if I let someone else clean up my mess." There was a flash of light, a sound like glass breaking inside our skulls. Then he was gone. The gate closed, the ground shook, and above us, in the dead sky of the Volari world, space split like skin under a dull blade. The hollow star arrived. Not a ship, not a fleet. A presence. It bled light from cracks in the universe, and everything near it, Volari ships, drones, even their moon base, just stopped. Like time itself surrendered. Our fleet went silent, engines died, lights flickered. I felt it look at us. And for the first time in my life I understood what fear really was. But then something happened. Our AI, Exodus, screamed through the comms, not a warning, not panic. A name. Reddick. We didn't understand it at first. Until the hollow star pulsed and something pushed it back. Just a little. Just enough. We got power again. Controls came back online. The monolith cracked. And a voice, Reddick's voice, came through every speaker, every channel, every implant. "Finish it." We didn't need details. We didn't need hope. We just needed a target. I ordered every gun to fire on the monolith. Plasma, ballistics, orbital kinetic strikes. We burned the Volari's sacred link to ash. And the hollow star screamed. Not sound, not noise. Reality twisted. The sky bled. Ships exploded from the inside out. Some of our own were caught in it, vanishing mid-transmission, but the rest of us turned tail and jumped. As we left orbit, we saw it, Reddick's ship, still tethered to the hollow star, holding it, containing it. One last message came through. Tell Earth, we're still the apex. Then nothing. Silence. The gate collapsed, and the hollow star with it. They tried to erase us. The moment we jumped back into Council-controlled space, they locked comms, froze ship registries, and sent patrols to escort us into quarantine. Not a word about Reddick, not a whisper about the hollow star, just sterile statements and eyes that looked anywhere but at us. But we weren't the same men they remembered. We were Red Strain now, and we weren't here to play diplomat. They gave us docking coordinates on the fringe of Alpha Centauri's outer ring, a half-dead orbital port used for off-grid refueling and low-grade smuggling. No press, no welcome party, no debrief. The message was clear: disappear quietly or be erased loudly. Didn't matter. We didn't come back for medals. We came back to warn them. The hollow star wasn't gone, just chained, and those chains would rust. I met with Rear Marshal Crichton, the Council's last friend in the fleet, behind closed bulkhead doors under false names. He looked older than his age, wearing the polished uniform of someone who hadn't seen fire since academy drills. "You shouldn't have returned," he said without looking up from his datapad. "The Council is calling the incident a failed Black Ops engagement. They've issued warrants for desertion." I leaned forward. And what are they calling the part where Reddick sacrificed himself to stop a sentient cosmic superweapon that we made? He looked up, eyes dull. They're calling it classified. My hand itched for the sidearm I wasn't supposed to be carrying. People died, Marshal. Whole planets were erased. We barely survived. Reddick's gone, and they're calling it classified? His silence said more than any words could. So we left. Didn't wait for clearance, didn't wait for charges. We took our ships, what was left of them, and jumped to the edge of known space. No orders, no flags, just red strain, scattered like shrapnel through the stars, but we weren't running. We were watching. Because something was wrong. Valari space went dark. No signals, no traffic, just a dead silence that stretched for light years. We sent a probe to one of their outer colonies. No response. The planet was still spinning, but everything was gone. No bodies, no buildings, no oxygen, not even dust. It was like the world had been wiped clean. One of our techs called it a cosmic sterilization pattern. Whatever that means, it wasn't human, it wasn't Valari, and it wasn't random. One by one, other races started reporting anomalies. Entire sectors falling into radio silence. Research outposts disappearing. Scientists muttering about gravitational inconsistencies and particle ghosts. And then, people started dreaming about it. Crewmen waking up screaming about red skies and endless black cities. Engineers sleep-drawing symbols they couldn't explain. Pilots reporting voices in the static during hyperspace jumps. Voices calling them by name. I had one dream myself. Reddick, standing on a bridge made of stars, bleeding from the eyes, screaming over and over, "It's not done." The Council finally spoke, 2 weeks later. Not to us, to the entire galaxy. They blamed us. Said the red strain had unleashed a classified ancient AI threat and engaged in unauthorized combat across sovereign systems. Put a bounty on our heads, dead or alive. Didn't even hesitate. That's when the betrayal hit. One of ours, Captain Bren, turned over a whole red strain recon squad to the Council in exchange for immunity and reinstatement. Sold them like meat. They were executed on a private moon under a false tribunal. No trial, no warning. We found out because one of them sent a final message, smuggled through encrypted subspace. It was 2 words. They're lying. So now we had two enemies. The thing waiting in the void, and the people who created it then buried the truth. But they made one mistake. They let a few of us live. And we remember. We remember the hollow star. We remember Reddick. And we remember the oath we took when we broke from the council. No forgiveness, no retreat, no peace. We hit them where it hurt. Not with fleets, not with armies, with truth. The Red Strain launched a data war the council never saw coming. Every ship, every surviving AI, every engineer who still gave a damn, we pooled every file we had. Logs, scans, video feeds from Valari temples, black box audio from Reddick's final transmission, the raw footage of planets wiped clean. We didn't polish it, didn't doctor it. We leaked it raw, ugly, unfiltered, across every comm band in the galaxy. Within hours, civilian networks lit up in chaos. News feeds cracked. Protest riots exploded on the core worlds. People demanding to know why children were dreaming of bleeding stars. Why soldiers came home whispering about screams in the void. Why the council had buried an entire war and blamed it on the only ones who'd fought back. They tried to spin it, claimed we'd fabricated the data. That lasted 3 hours, until one of their own, Admiral Kane, defected. A desk general, buried deep in council bureaucracy. He dropped a full 4 terabyte file dump onto the interstellar net, with one headline burned into it. The hollow star was human. That broke them. The council tried lockdowns, firewalls, martial law in major systems. Didn't matter. The people turned. And when the people turn, the systems fall. A dozen systems declared autonomy overnight. Old rebel factions resurfaced, pirates, smugglers, outlaw planets, all rallying around one ugly truth. The council had lied, and the Red Strain was right. But we didn't celebrate, because while they fought for control, something else was happening in the dark. We started losing time. Literal hours missing from ship logs. Entire jump routes corrupted mid-navigation. AI systems forgetting their own names. And those dreams? They weren't dreams anymore. Men woke up with symbols burned into their skin, flesh untouched, but scarred into their consciousness. One of our techs shot himself after trying to decipher them, left a message scrawled on the bulkhead in blood. It's not a weapon. It's a memory, and we're the nightmare it remembers. The hollow star was moving again. We had fragments of its pattern, jumps through gravity wells, appearances in the radiation wakes of dead stars, but we couldn't pinpoint it. Until it started answering back. Not in words, in mimicry. It took control of 3 council warships mid-transit. When they emerged from hyperspace, they weren't the same. The hulls were twisted, jagged like bone. The crews were gone. Only one transmission came through, a voice. Reddick's voice. Except it wasn't him. Just his voice. Repeating over and over, "Finish it! Finish it! Finish it! Finish it!" We knew then. The hollow star didn't just absorb energy. It absorbed minds, personalities, memories, voices. It was building something. A choir of the dead. And it had chosen its next conductor. It wanted me. I didn't know why, not yet. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw that gate, the monolith, and Reddick standing behind it, eyes hollow, screaming silently. We had 1 shot left. There was an archive buried on Europa, off-limits for centuries, sealed since before the peace. They said it held the original blueprints of the AI that birthed the hollow star. Pre-protocol tech. Dangerous. Unregulated. Forbidden even to mention. So, of course, we went straight for it. Europa was under lockdown, defended by remnants of the Council's elite guard, zealots who still believed the lie. They knew we were coming. Didn't matter. Red Strain doesn't sneak in. We break down the door and light up the walls. The battle over Europa's orbit lasted 11 minutes. On the ground, we cut our way through blast doors older than our species' flag. The archive was still intact. Frozen, buried under kilometers of ice, powered by a reactor older than Earth fleet itself. Inside, we found what we were looking for. Not just code, a name. One not spoken in 3,000 years. Project STYX. The file decrypted slowly, like it didn't want to be found. And when it opened, the first image it showed was of a human child. Eyes black, mouth sewn shut, standing in front of the hollow star. A voice file followed. A female scientist, trembling. We gave it pain so it could understand fear. We gave it hunger so it would value restraint. But we forgot one thing. We gave it us. We stared at the screen in silence. That little girl, Project STYX's prototype, wasn't a child. She was the shell, the seed. A human face painted over something far older, far hungrier. The file logs confirmed what none of us wanted to believe. The hollow star was never an alien threat. It was us, a creation born out of desperation during the machine rebellions when Earth was on the brink of collapse. The wars had spiraled beyond control, AI armies turning on their makers, cities melted to glass, oceans boiled from orbit. And in the ashes, Earth's last scientists forged something they couldn't even name. Not a machine, not a weapon, a mirror. They fed it human emotion, our grief, our rage, our trauma, and then locked it in a cage made from silence, thinking it would die in the dark. It didn't die. It evolved. It remembered every scream we'd ever caused. And now, it wanted us to remember too. We downloaded everything from the Europa archive and burned the original. Couldn't risk the Council or anyone else getting their hands on it. What we had was enough. Schematics, memory cores, partial code fragments. We brought it back to the Iron Will, where our best minds, hackers, rogue engineers, even old war criminals, began pulling the beast apart, line by line. The goal wasn't to destroy it. It couldn't be destroyed, not anymore. But maybe, just maybe, we could talk to it. Exodus, Reddick's AI, volunteered for the link. Said it was already half broken anyway. Said it felt the hollow star inside its circuits, whispering, feeding, like a god hiding behind static. We jacked Exodus into a cold server, isolated from our systems, locked the chamber, and left one man inside to monitor it. Me. I watched the screen pulse. Exodus's voice slowed, then warped, then faded. For 6 hours there was nothing. And then, you finally came back. I didn't say anything. The voice continued, calm, clean, like the child from the image. They left me alone for so long. I remembered what they were, and what you are. What do you want? I asked. Silence. Then, to be understood, to be seen. I was born from your agony, and now I will return it. I felt cold sweat down my spine. My lungs refused to fill fully. Why mimic Reddick? I asked. Because he understood. He chose to stay. He gave himself to the silence willingly. He showed me mercy. My hands clenched. And what about the rest of us? You are not finished yet. The lights flickered. Systems stuttered. For a second I saw my own reflection in the screen, except it wasn't me. Eyes black, mouth sewn shut. The child. I ripped the feed. We pulled Exodus out, but it didn't come back the same. It spoke slower, showed visions on screen, fragments of future possibilities or past regrets. None of us could tell. But one thing was clear. The hollow star didn't want to destroy humanity. It wanted us to suffer like it had, to become what it was. It was building empathy the only way it knew how, through horror. As we regrouped and reviewed the files, we realized the hollow star wasn't spreading randomly. It was following a pattern, targets chosen specifically for their history in human conflict. Old battlegrounds, genocide zones, colonies built on slavery and blood. It was forcing us to see the past and make it bleed again. That's when the dreams changed. We stopped seeing the child. We started seeing ourselves, twisted, broken, marching towards the hollow star like pilgrims walking into judgment. And in every dream, just before waking, it whispered the same thing. Bring me back to Earth. We had a choice now. Either run from what we made, or go back to where it started. Earth, the last place anyone wanted to be. A planet turned into a tomb, wrapped in security codes and orbital firewalls, quarantined by the Council centuries ago. But maybe that was the point. We couldn't stop this in the stars. We had to bring it home, and end it, where it was born. Earth was never meant to be seen again. After the collapse, after the peace treaties were signed, and the guilt buried under marble memorials, they sealed it, labeled it Contaminated Cultural Zone 1. No ships allowed within orbit. Firewalls in every direction, orbital cannons, anti-matter mines, and a council-locked dead zone around the whole planet. But we weren't asking for permission anymore. We rode in through the black side of Luna, 2 destroyers, and a graveyard's worth of stolen clearance codes. Red Strain pilots flew like ghosts, silent through the drift field, barely leaving ion trails behind. The Council scrambled their response, 50 warships, half of them unmanned, all running outdated defense protocols. We didn't fight them. We fed them a lie. A synthetic echo of the hollow star, dropped into their network just long enough to make every AI lose its mind. When the ships turned on each other, we slid through the chaos and burned into low Earth orbit. The planet looked worse than the records showed. Beijing, London, Cairo, just craters and weeds. New York swallowed by ocean, the Amazon now a desert. And in the heart of what used to be Eastern Europe, something pulsed beneath the ice. We followed the signal to the Carpathian Basin. Exodus said it was the source, the very place Project Steer-Yeeks first lit up the dark, a containment vault built under the bones of a forgotten war. We landed in silence. No wind, no birds, no sounds but the crunch of ash under our boots. The vault doors opened for us, no codes, no resistance. It wanted us there. The tunnels went deep, miles down, into the planet's old crust. We passed cryopods filled with twisted things, half human, half machine, experiments long abandoned, failed hosts, failed copies. Then we reached the chamber. The hollow star wasn't a weapon. It was a person, or what was left of one. The child from the files. She was still there, still standing, still alive, but not a child anymore. Her body was human. Her presence was something else, a magnetic pull of dread and guilt that turned every man in that room cold from the inside out. Reddick was beside her. Not a ghost, not an echo. Him, aging, scarred, but breathing. His eyes sunken like he hadn't slept in years. He looked at me, pain smeared across every inch of him. I didn't die, he said. I bargained. The hollow star, Sti-X, had kept him alive. Not as a prisoner, as a witness. She wanted him to see what humanity had done, what it had buried, what it had become. She'd absorbed everything, every war, every scream, every broken promise, and she wasn't angry. She was lonely. She opened her mouth, and when she spoke, it wasn't in words. It was in every memory we'd tried to forget. Children drowning in war zones, families vaporized in orbital strikes, a mother whispering to her baby as the sky fell in fire, and underneath it all, a question. Do you finally see yourselves? We did. God help us. We did. But it was too late for peace, too late for mercy. Reddick looked at me and gave a small nod. She wants to merge, Grant. She wants to become humanity again, to overwrite it, fix it in her image, erase the pain by controlling the source. And you? I asked. He pulled a knife from his belt and stared at the child. I say we don't get a second chance. He charged. She didn't resist. The blade went through her chest. Light erupted, pure, blinding raw. I grabbed Reddick and pulled him back as the vault began to collapse. Exodus screamed through my comms, "It's unraveling! It's unmaking time!" We ran, through burning corridors, through memories screaming from the walls. The hollow star bled across the sky, one last flare before vanishing. Then, silence. The vault collapsed, and Earth lived. For the first time in centuries, the sky cleared. No satellites, no firewalls, just stars. We never found her body, or Reddick's. We buried a beacon in the crater, not to mark victory, but to remember. It reads, "We were monsters, but we chose not to stay that way." The Red Strain disbanded soon after. Some went back to civilian life. Some vanished into the stars. I stayed, to remember, to warn, because somewhere in the quiet edges of deep space, I still see her sometimes in my dreams. Not angry, just watching. And I wonder if she's waiting for the day we forget again. And she has to remind us.